For counseling. My name is Terkesa Bryson. I'm an intern counselor here. And from review of your paperwork, you are Mr. Ethan Hunt. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that is correct.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So, today is the initial session. And before we get started, I just want to make sure, what do you prefer to be called? By your first name, last name?
First name would be fine.
Okay. All right, Ethan. So, with today being the initial session, just to go over a few things, today you'll be doing most of the talking and I'll be doing the listening.
Oh. Okay.
One thing that I do want to make sure that you understand is that everything we discuss today is confidential, or anytime we're in a session is confidential. The one thing that I would have to break confidentiality for is if you threaten harm to yourself or someone else. If you're just having a bad day and you, I don't know, say something off the wall, but it's just kind of like you're just caught up in your emotions from the day, that's different. But if you make a threat to yourself, have a plan, cause harm, then I have to break it. Okay? So, what brings you in today?
Stress brings me in today.
Stress.
Work-related stress.
Okay. Now, do you mind if I take notes while we talk?
Perfectly okay.
Work-related stress. So, were you referred to forward counseling or?
Yes, I was referred.
Who referred you?
Actually, I have an associate that's actually seen a counselor, so
Okay.
they recommended that I come in.
Okay, nice. So with work-related stress, and as far as therapy, is this your first time in a therapy session, or have you seen a counselor in the past before?
This would be my first time.
Okay. Are you nervous?
Not really.
Okay, good. So dealing with work-related stress, tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, pretty much most of it stems from the boss that I have to deal with.
Okay.
I'm actually not used to dealing with a boss because I used to work for myself for most of my life. So I'm actually not used to having to deal with, authority figures. So it's kind of causing a little bit of stress because now I have to comply and conform to what he wants, which may not always be the right thing. So now it causes a lot of stress.
Okay. I can understand that. So from what I hear, you're saying that you're used to being self-employed. So now are you working for in corporate? Is it like what type of work do
Well,
you do?
that's it. I'm actually a project manager.
Okay.
For contractor.
And how long have you been a project manager?
Probably going on 3 years.
3 years?
Yes.
So prior to becoming a project manager for the company you're with now, your new boss, how long how long did you work for yourself? I'm sorry.
Well, I would say I worked for myself probably 17, 18 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
It is.
That's good. So, outside of this type of work, what other type of work have you done? Has this been the type of work you've done for the past 17, 18 years?
Yeah, probably. I would say, yeah, it's pretty much been along construction lines.
Okay. So, when did you notice that you were starting to feel stressed?
Well, let me give you a bit of a backstory with my boss.
Okay.
I've known him probably since the early 90s. So we've always had a casual, friendly, relationship, not work related. So I've always only seen him on one side. But now that I'm working for him, I see a completely different side of him, and it's a little bit more combative. And I'm not used to that at all, especially from him.
So I take it that you all were friends, associates
Yes,
before
that
you
is
started
correct.
working
Yes.
with him directly. And now it's causing a strain not only on the working relationship but also the personal friendship as well.
Initially it started out like that, but now I think I mean I have a better grasp of it, so it's really not a problem friendship wise because now I kind of understand, his angle.
Okay.
I can't put too much stock into it. I can't really take it personal because it is just a business relationship during the day.
Okay.
So
So with it being a business relationship during the day, you still have to communicate with him on a day-to-day basis, and it's causing you stress. So what are some things you've been doing to maybe work with relieving some of your stress?
um, well, I try to keep a better schedule with him, keep in contact with him, you know, specific times during the day, just to keep him from calling me and being upset and wondering what's going on. We kind of have to keep a calendar going, so and
Okay.
keep communication all day.
Show some accountability, or
Yes,
show accountability rather.
exactly.
Because in showing accountability, then that makes him not be so much on your back, or how. I
Ye-
want to make sure I'm following you.
it is, and I think a lot of it stems from previous employees that he had that didn't really, you know, follow suit and work the job like they were supposed to. So now he probably has trust issues
Okay.
with employees. So I mean, I take it maybe he's just looking at me the same way that he looked at those other guys,
Okay.
just waiting for a shoe to drop, something to go wrong, me to do something that I'm not supposed to do,
Okay.
which it hasn't happened yet. But
Okay. So have in the situation, as far as your working relationship with your boss, have you all ever had any direct conflict, or is it just the way that he manages or runs the
it's
business?
it. I wouldn't say. Well, I guess it would be direct conflict whenever we have meetings, but really, it's about his approach.
Okay.
You know, the way he presents the issues. I'm not accustomed to that because it can be a little bit combative, narcissist. It, and I'm not used to that. So
Okay. Well, that's understandable. You definitely want to be in a working environment to where it's stress free. Now, some stressors we may have day to day in life, and some stress can be okay, but when it becomes too much and it starts affecting either your physical, mental, emotional health, then that's when it becomes a problem. Do you feel like it has gotten to that point?
well, I have my last physical. My blood pressure has been up, and I
Okay.
and I feel like part of it is probably stress related.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, sometimes I'm just at a point where I don't even want to get up and go have to deal with him daily.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
that's a lot. And you definitely want to keep a watch on your blood pressure and everything. And I assume that because you're saying that you had a recent check on your blood pressure, you
Mm-hmm.
had a physical
Yes.
this year. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good. Definitely keep a watch
I
on
mean,
that.
part of that is probably my diet as well, but I'm
I
pretty
know
sure
about diet.
I'm pretty sure some of it is work related as well.
Yeah, I understand about diet. We can get off on that sometimes. So, but just making sure, as far as I guess the relationship with your boss and the
Mm-hmm.
levels of stress that you're dealing with right now, and you've come to therapy. So, what is it that you're wanting to gain from therapy today?
Probably just a better understanding on how to deal with, you know, different personalities in different situations. Like I said,
Okay.
I've always had to work for myself and by myself most of the time, so I'm not really used to, you know, working under somebody. So
Yes. Okay.
I feel like maybe therapy will help me to be better equipped to deal with anybody else.
Okay. Well, we can definitely discuss some information as far as different communication styles, set some goals as far as maybe learning how to interact with different communication styles on your job day to day. Like you said, 17, 18 years, that is a long time working pretty much kind of by yourself, not having to deal with a lot of different people in the process. So, what I'm hearing you saying, of course, stress is number one. You want to find some relief there. And then number two, as far as being able to, I guess, communicate better
Yes.
with maybe some of those communication styles that may be a little harder to deal with. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So, as far as the job that you're, as far as your current job, because you said you've been with him about 3 years, do you see yourself long term? Is it somewhere you do want to be long term? And
I'm not sure about that. Coming into the situation, I thought maybe it would be more beneficial, but over time, I don't really feel like he doesn't appreciate my worth,
okay,
being the knowledge that I have in this business. I don't think he appreciates it.
so if you had an opportunity to actually start working for yourself again, or another opportunity came up to maybe transition to another company, is that something you think that you would consider doing?
Yes, I'm pretty sure I would consider it, just to have just a peace of mind.
Okay.
At a different location is worth a lot.
Peace of mind definitely makes a difference, because that goes back to stress, and that stress affecting our health and how we feel, how we function day to day on our job. So, okay. So let me ask you this, as far as, because I'm trying to just make sure I understand where you are on really wanting to, other than, of course, working, making sure you have like some stress relief, communication, as far as change and transitioning. And you're saying, you may not be there that much longer. You're not for sure. In the beginning, you did see it as being something long term, but now you're saying that I'm not for sure.
And that feeling comes and goes.
Okay.
It just depends. A lot of it depends on our interactions. So
Okay. So just wondering if you're kind of in a pre-contemplation stage, or if you're actually where you're at the point where you're contemplating, excuse me, and you're ready to take action. I'm just trying to get a feel for that.
Yeah,
I'm still in the pre stage.
I'm in the pre stages right now. I mean, there's a lot that comes with transitioning, because I do have a family, so it's not something you could just stop and try to find something else. You kind of want to make sure you got something steady and better before you even move over.
Well, at least you're thinking, of course, not just about yourself, but you're also thinking about your family. So that's great. And when you say family, how many children do you have?
I have 2 girls and I'm married. One's an adult, one's teenager.
Okay. And how long have you been married?
15 years this year.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Long time.
Yes.
So you're just a committed man, huh?
Of course.
Committed to working 17, 18 years for yourself, transitioning to another role, still married. So congratulations on that. And so as far as, I guess, with your family, and you are married, and just going back to the stress part of things, is that affecting your home life in any way, or is it just on the forefront of your work environment?
Well, it tends to affect the home life as well.
Okay.
Because there again, you bring that stress load home.
Yeah.
So
it just kind of overflows into
yes.
from one thing to the next.
And it may cause me to shut down,
Okay.
or not act, it's kind of off balance when you get home.
Definitely.
Especially if it's one of those days where you had to deal with him and it didn't go well.
Okay. Okay. I can see that. Sometimes just being in I don't want to use the word hostile because I'm not really for sure on what level, um, but just being in a stressful environment, period, um, that's bound to happen. And like I was saying earlier, that stress begins to affect just different areas of your life: physical, mental, emotional, social. So I can definitely provide you with some information as far as just today, as far as on stress
Mm-hmm.
and just different types of stressors, what it looks like. I can provide you with some information as far as stress management, maybe working through some of those things. And I know you're saying you're also in the pre contemplation stage,
Mm-hmm.
maybe as far as whether you're going to transition, thinking about your family and everything, which is understandable. And that's something maybe we can revisit if you want to set some goals on down the line to work towards maybe putting yourself back out there, updating your resume or something like that. But for now, I think setting some goals to focus on your stress and different communication styles um, is something we can initially start with. How do you feel about that?
I would be all for it.
Okay. So, as far as right now, what are you doing, or are you doing anything to help relieve some of that stress because it's on your work front and then it transitions over to your home front sometime?
Well, like I said, I try to understand where he's coming from. I understand
Okay.
his workload and his business, so I try to deal with him on that level and understand he has probably stress issues as well,
Okay.
which will probably cause him to lash out and anybody else that's working for him.
So, I hear you saying, when, let me make sure that I'm following you correctly. Well, what I'm asking you is about how do you, or are you doing anything to help relieve your stress for you personally? But I know that you're answering me, you're
Well, I
telling
mean,
me
probably
about,
not. Probably not at not away from the job. I try to focus on it more so on the job,
mm-hmm.
as far as you know my one-on-ones are dealing with him, because it actually helps when I get on the
Okay.
same page with him.
So as far as stress relief right now, it sounds like
Better communication
that,
with the boss helps.
okay. So stress relief right now, it sounds like you're going into maybe your one-on-one sessions or meetings with him and taking maybe some of that time to find a better way to communicate with him
Yes.
and make sure you all are having an understanding.
Yes.
Um, some other things you may want to consider doing is maybe taking walks in the evening, taking some time for yourself. So when I'm talking to you about relieving stress,
Now,
which that helps.
now, I have been known to walk a lot. I've
Okay.
gotten away from it a little bit.
Okay.
And I noticed that that's probably caused some changes as well. So my plan is to actually get back on the track.
Okay. So when was the last time you actually took a walk?
It's probably been months.
Months. That's a good stress reliever. So take that into consideration because I want you to um, not only think about when it comes to the relief, how you relate to him to help relieve some of the stress, or think about how he may be stressed. That's good as well
Mm-hmm.
on your work front, but because it's spilling over into your home life and your family, you also want to make sure when you walk away from your job that you're not always bringing everything home. And it's hard to do. It'll take time for any of us. So just make sure you're thinking about different ways you can help relieve your personal stress for Ethan. So, does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So looks like we are coming to the end of the session. I do just want to do um, a recap just to make sure we understand what was discussed today. And I would also like to ask, do you have any questions?
I don't have, being that this is the first session, I don't really have questions
Okay.
right now. No, I don't.
Okay. So, from what we discussed today in the initial session, you came in because you are having issues with stress, dealing with um, a new transition as far as your work, your work life with your boss, the way he communicates, and it's causing some transition or overflow into your home life, and you really want to relieve your stress, and you want to learn how to communicate better with different types of communication styles. And then the last thing that I was focusing on was the self care portion for you. Want to make sure you're definitely taking out some time for self care. So within this next week or two, um, how would you like to continue sessions?
I think I can come back for a second visit in the next couple of weeks.
Maybe every 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay. So over the next week or two, what do you think about at least trying to walk at least 1 to 2 times a week over the next 2 weeks?
I think I can do that.
And see how that works for you to help relieve some of the stress. I do like how you said in your one-on-one sessions with your boss, you try to take that time to help, I guess, learn how to communicate with him better. Continue to do those things. And then today, before leaving, I'll make sure I give you some information, like I was telling you about stressors and stress management and some different communication styles. And I will see you back in 2 weeks, same time at 5 p.m. if that works for you.
That works out perfectly.
All right. Well, thank you for coming today. And if there's anything else in between our sessions, feel free to reach out to me. You can contact the front desk and they'll get the information to me if you need to speak with me or need anything before then.
All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you
You
again.
too.
All right.